Pregnant and alone, Emma boarded a westbound train, hoping for a new life. Her husband was gone, her future uncertain, but she still had hope. Then, in the dead of night, the train stopped. Gunfire followed. Bandits left no one alive. They thought they'd killed everyone. But behind a rock, one woman was still breathing, holding her belly and praying to survive. Before we begin, tell us where you're watching from and subscribe if you believe that hope can survive even the darkest nights. Emma sat quietly on the train, looking out the window. The landscape outside was flat and dry. The train was heading west, and Emma was hoping for a new start. Her husband had died a few months ago, and now she was alone. But she was not completely alone. Inside her, a new life was growing. She gently touched her belly, feeling the small movements of her baby. The train was crowded. People were talking, some were laughing, while others were just like Emma, lost in their own thoughts. There were families with children and men who looked like they worked hard for a living. Each person had their own story, their own reason for being on this train. Emma wondered about them, but she did not have the energy to ask or listen. Her own thoughts were enough to keep her busy. She held a small locket in her hand. It was a gift from her late husband. Inside, it had their picture taken on a happy day. She often looked at it, remembering the good times they had shared. Now, it was just her and the baby. The train was her chance to start over. She hoped to find a place where she and her child could build a new life. The train moved steadily, the sound of the wheels on the track was almost soothing. Emma closed her eyes for a moment, trying to rest. The journey was long, and she knew she needed all her strength. Her mind drifted to her plans. She did not have much money, but she hoped to find work somewhere. Maybe there would be a small town where she could settle, a place where people were kind and willing to help. Emma opened her eyes and looked around. Across the aisle, there was a young couple. They were holding hands, whispering to each other. Emma felt a pang of loneliness but pushed it aside. She had to be strong. She had to think about the future. The train continued its journey, the scenery outside changing slowly. The sun was high in the sky, casting long shadows. Emma shifted in her seat, trying to get comfortable. The baby kicked, reminding her that she was not alone. She smiled a little, feeling a warmth inside her heart. As the train moved forward, Emma thought about the journey ahead. She knew it would not be easy. There would be challenges, and she would have to face them alone. But she was determined. She had come this far, and she would not give up. Her child would have a good life, and she would make sure of it. The train stopped at a small station. A few people got off, and some new passengers boarded. Emma watched them, wondering where they were going. The train started moving again, the rhythm of the wheels steady and constant. Emma leaned back in her seat, feeling the motion of the train. She closed her eyes again, letting her thoughts drift. The day passed slowly. The train stopped and started several times, each stop a reminder that she was getting closer to her destination. Emma ate a small meal, saving the rest of her food for later. She had to be careful with her money and her resources. Every little bit counted. As the sun began to set, the train was filled with a warm, golden light. Emma watched the colors change in the sky. It was a beautiful sight, and for a moment, she felt a sense of peace. The journey was long, but each mile brought her closer to her goal. She held the locket tightly, drawing strength from the memory of her husband. The evening turned to night, and the train continued its journey through the darkness. Emma wrapped her shawl around her shoulders, trying to stay warm. She thought about the future. She would find a place to live, she would find work, and she would raise her child. It was a simple plan, but it was enough to keep her going. The train rocked gently, lulling Emma into a light sleep. Her dreams were filled with images of her husband and her child. She saw herself in a small house, with flowers in the garden and laughter in the air. It was a dream, but it was a good dream. It gave her hope. The train's whistle blew, waking Emma from her sleep. The sound was loud and clear in the night. Emma sat up, looking around. Most of the passengers were asleep, their heads resting against the windows or on each other's shoulders. Emma felt a sense of camaraderie with them. They were all travelers, each on their own journey. As the night wore on, Emma thought about her destination. She did not know exactly where she would get off, but she trusted her instincts. When the right place came, she would know. Until then, she would stay on the train, letting it carry her forward. The train moved through the night, the stars shining brightly in the sky. Emma watched them, feeling a sense of wonder. The world was big, and she was just a small part of it. But she was not alone. She had her child, and she had her memories. They were enough to give her strength. Emma leaned back in her seat, closing her eyes once more. She let the sound of the train and the motion of the journey soothe her. Tomorrow was a new day, full of possibilities and challenges. Emma was ready for it. She would face whatever came her way, and she would not give up. Her journey was just beginning, and she was determined to make it a good one. The train rolled on through the night, the rhythmic clatter of the wheels a constant companion. Emma dozed lightly, her body swaying gently with the motion. She was not sure how long she had been asleep when a sudden jolt woke her. The train lurched violently, throwing her forward in her seat. She grabbed onto the armrest, her heart pounding with sudden fear. Voices filled the train car, a mix of confusion and alarm. Emma saw people around her looking around, their faces shadowed with concern. The train was slowing down, and soon it came to a complete stop. Emma felt a chill run down her spine. Something was wrong. Emma heard shouting outside, rough voices cutting through the night. She tried to peer out the window, but it was too dark to see anything clearly. Her heart raced as she tried to understand what was happening. The voices grew louder, and then there was the sharp crack of gunfire. Panic surged through the train car as passengers realized the danger they were in. Emma's instincts kicked in. She knew she had to get out to find somewhere safe. She clutched her belly, feeling the life inside her, and moved quickly. She was near the back of the car, and she remembered seeing a door leading outside. She headed toward it, pushing through the panicked crowd. The door opened with a creak, and Emma stepped out into the night. The cold air hit her like a wall, but she barely noticed. Her eyes scanned the darkness, looking for a place to hide. The landscape was flat and barren, offering little cover. But then she saw it, a large rock formation a short distance from the tracks. Emma moved quickly, her heart racing. She could hear the chaos behind her, the shouts and screams, the terrifying sounds of gunfire. She reached the rocks, her breath coming in ragged gasps. She crouched down, pressing herself against the cold stone. Her heart pounded in her chest, fear clawing at her insides. From her hiding spot, Emma could see the train and the figures moving around it. The bandits were ruthless, moving from car to car, taking what they wanted. Emma watched in horror as they dragged passengers from the train, their voices harsh and demanding. She felt a deep, overwhelming fear, but she forced herself to stay silent, to stay hidden. As she huddled behind the rock, Emma thought of her baby. She placed a hand on her belly, feeling the reassuring movements. She had to survive for the sake of her child. Her thoughts drifted to her husband and the promise she had made to him. She would protect their child no matter what. The night wore on, and Emma stayed where she was, her body tense and ready to flee at any moment. The bandits continued their raid, their laughter and shouts echoing through the darkness. Emma felt a mix of fear and anger. How could they do this? How could they bring such pain and suffering? Eventually, the noise began to fade. The bandits, satisfied with their loot, were leaving. Emma watched them go, holding her breath, afraid to even move. The train was silent now, a dark shadow against the night. Emma stayed hidden, waiting, her heart pounding in her chest. When she was sure the danger had passed, Emma slowly emerged from her hiding spot. She was shaking, her limbs stiff from crouching for so long. She looked around, taking in the devastation. The train was a wreck, the aftermath of the attack clear in the broken windows and scattered belongings. Emma moved cautiously, searching for any sign of life. She needed to know if anyone else had survived. Her heart ached at the thought of the people she had seen earlier, the families and children. She hoped desperately that someone else had escaped. As she moved through the shadows, Emma found a few scattered supplies. A small bag with some food, a canteen with water. She gathered what she could, knowing she would need it. She was alone now, in the middle of nowhere, but she had to survive. The night was cold, and Emma wrapped her shawl tightly around her shoulders. She sat down for a moment, trying to gather her thoughts. She was exhausted, her body aching from fear and tension. But she knew she could not rest for long. She had to keep moving. Emma thought about her next step. She had no idea where she was or where to go. The train had been her hope, her way to a new life. Now she was stranded, with no clear path forward. But she could not give up. She had to find a way for her and for her child. The sky was beginning to lighten, the first hints of dawn appearing on the horizon. Emma took it as a sign. A new day was coming, bringing with it new possibilities. She stood up, her resolve hardening. She would find a way to survive. She would find a way to start over. Emma turned away from the ruined train, her eyes scanning the landscape. She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her situation. But she was determined. She had come too far to give up now. With a final glance at the train, she started walking, her steps steady and sure. The journey ahead was uncertain, but Emma was ready. She was a survivor, and she would do whatever it took to protect her child. As the sun rose, casting its light over the land, Emma walked forward, leaving the past behind and stepping into the unknown. Emma walked carefully away from the train, each step taken with purpose. She was moving into the unknown, but she knew she had to keep going. The night had been long and frightening, but she had survived. Now she needed to think about what came next. Her mind was a mix of fear and determination. The image of the bandits still haunted her thoughts, their harsh voices, their cruel actions. But she could not dwell on that now. She needed to focus on finding safety, on finding a new path for herself and her child. The landscape was barren, with only rocks and sparse bushes dotting the horizon. Emma stayed close to the tracks, knowing they might lead her to help or to a town. Her heart was heavy with the loss of those on the train, but she pressed on, driven by the instinct to survive. As the sun rose higher in the sky, Emma paused to rest. She found a small patch of shade beneath a rock, grateful for the brief respite from the sun. Her body was tired and her feet were sore, but she knew she had to keep moving. She took a sip from the canteen, the water cool and refreshing. From her resting spot, Emma could see the train in the distance, a dark shape against the brightening sky. She watched it for a moment, feeling a mix of sadness and relief. It was over, the nightmare of the previous night now behind her. She knew she was lucky to be alive, and she silently thanked whatever fate had spared her. Emma felt the baby move, a gentle reminder of what she was fighting for. She placed a hand on her belly, drawing strength from the life growing inside her. It was a comfort, a reminder that she was not alone. She had a purpose, a reason to keep going. After a short rest, Emma continued her journey. The sun climbed higher and the air grew warmer. She wiped the sweat from her brow, her eyes scanning the horizon for any sign of civilization. The land stretched out before her, vast and empty, but she refused to give in to despair. As she walked, Emma's mind drifted back to the attack. She remembered the faces of the people on the train, the fear and confusion in their eyes. She thought of the young couple she had seen, their whispers and laughter. She hoped they had found safety somewhere, that they had escaped the violence. Hours passed and Emma kept moving. Her legs were tired, but she pushed on, driven by the need to find safety. She thought about her husband, about the life they had planned together. It was hard to believe he was gone, that their dreams had been shattered. But she carried his memory with her, a source of strength and hope. The day wore on and Emma's steps grew slower. Her body ached and she longed for a place to rest. She was starting to feel the strain of her journey, the weight of her situation pressing down on her. But she refused to give up. She had come too far to turn back now. As the sun began to set, Emma found herself on a small rise. She stopped for a moment, her eyes scanning the landscape. In the distance, she saw a flicker of light, a small, hopeful sign of life. Her heart skipped a beat, a surge of hope filling her chest. Emma focused on the light, her determination renewed. She adjusted her path, heading toward the distant glow. It was a risk, but she had no choice. She needed help, and this was her chance to find it. The light grew closer, and Emma's heart beat faster. She moved as quickly as she could, her feet stumbling over the uneven ground. She was tired, but the hope of finding someone, of finding help, kept her going. As she neared the source of the light, Emma saw it was a small campfire. Her heart soared with relief. She approached cautiously, her eyes scanning for any sign of danger. But all she saw was a lone figure sitting by the fire, a silhouette against the flames. Emma paused, her fear mingling with hope. She needed help, but she did not know who this person was. Taking a deep breath, she stepped forward, her voice steady despite the fear in her heart. The figure turned, and Emma saw a face worn by the elements, eyes sharp and assessing. She could see the surprise in those eyes, and for a moment they simply looked at each other, both aware of the gravity of the moment. Emma spoke, her voice quiet but firm. She explained her situation, her need for help. The figure listened, and Emma saw something soften in the stranger's eyes. A nod, a gesture to the fire, an invitation to sit. Emma felt a wave of relief, her legs nearly giving way as she sank down onto the ground. The stranger offered her some food and water, and Emma accepted gratefully. She had been so focused on surviving that she had not realized how hungry and tired she was. The warmth of the fire and the simple meal revived her, giving her the strength she needed. Emma learned the stranger's name was Jacob, a traveler like her. He had heard the train pass by earlier and had wondered about it. He listened as Emma told him about the attack, her voice trembling with the memory. Jacob's face was serious, understanding the danger she had faced. As the night deepened, Emma felt a sense of peace. She had found help, a small light in the darkness. Jacob seemed kind, and Emma was grateful for his presence. She felt a glimmer of hope, a belief that she could find a new beginning despite the challenges ahead. As they talked, Emma felt a bond forming. They were both travelers, both searching for something. Emma realized she was not alone in her journey. She had found someone who understood, who was willing to help. It was a small comfort, but it meant the world to her. The fire crackled softly, its warmth a comfort against the cool night air. Emma felt her eyes growing heavy, the exhaustion of the day catching up with her. She knew she needed to rest, to gather her strength for whatever lay ahead. With a final glance at Jacob, Emma lay down beside the fire, her body relaxing for the first time in what felt like forever. She closed her eyes, feeling the warmth of the flames and the presence of another human being. She was not alone anymore, and it gave her comfort. The journey was far from over, but Emma felt a renewed sense of hope. She had survived the night, and she would face whatever challenges came her way. With a deep breath, she let herself drift into sleep, her dreams filled with the promise of a new beginning. Emma woke to the soft light of dawn. The sky was painted with shades of pink and orange. She blinked, disoriented for a moment before remembering the events of the night before. The campfire was now just glowing embers, and Jacob was already awake, tending to it. Emma sat up slowly, her muscles stiff from the night on the ground. She felt the baby move, a comforting reminder of her purpose. She looked around, taking in the quiet landscape. For a moment, she allowed herself to feel safe, knowing that she had found a temporary refuge. Jacob noticed she was awake and nodded a silent greeting. He handed her a piece of bread, and they ate in companionable silence. Emma was grateful for his presence. He did not ask many questions, and she appreciated that. She was not ready to share everything yet. After breakfast, Emma knew it was time to move. She had rested, but the sense of urgency remained. The bandits were out there somewhere, and she needed to put as much distance between them and herself as possible. She thanked Jacob for his kindness, her gratitude evident in her eyes. Jacob understood. He too was ready to move on. He offered to walk with her, at least for a while. Emma accepted. She was glad for the company. Two people were safer than one, and Jacob seemed to know the land well. They set off together, the morning sun warming their backs. Emma felt a renewed sense of determination. She had survived the terror of the train attack, and now she was moving forward. Her feet were still sore and her body ached, but she pushed the discomfort aside. She had to be strong. The landscape was vast and unforgiving. Emma and Jacob walked in silence, the only sound the crunch of their footsteps on the dry ground. Emma kept her eyes on the horizon, searching for any sign of life. Every now and then she would glance at Jacob, finding comfort in his steady presence. As they walked, Emma's mind drifted back to the train. She remembered the faces of the people she had seen, the fear and confusion during the attack. She wondered if any of them had survived, if they too had found refuge somewhere. The thought weighed heavily on her heart. The sun climbed higher, and the air grew warmer. Emma wiped sweat from her brow, feeling the heat seep into her bones. Jacob seemed unbothered, his stride steady and confident. Emma drew strength from his calm demeanor, matching her pace to his. They paused briefly to rest, finding shade beneath a rocky outcrop. Emma sipped from her canteen, grateful for the cool water. Her mind wandered to the past, to the life she had left behind. She thought of her husband, of the dreams they had shared. It was hard to believe he was gone, that their future had been stolen from them. But she had to focus on the present, on the life growing inside her. After their short break, they continued walking. Emma felt a sense of purpose, a determination to reach safety. She did not know where they were going, but she trusted Jacob. He seemed to have a sense of direction, a knowledge of the land that she lacked. The afternoon passed slowly, each step taking them further from the wreckage of the train. Emma's feet were sore and her legs felt heavy, but she refused to slow down. She had to keep moving, had to keep pushing forward. Her child depended on her. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows over the land, they came upon a small stream. The sight of the water lifted Emma's spirits. She knelt by the edge, splashing the cool liquid on her face and arms. It was a small relief, but it gave her strength. Jacob filled their canteens, his movements efficient and practiced. Emma watched him, grateful for his help. He had been a stranger, but now he felt like a friend. She was thankful for his presence, for the sense of security he provided. They decided to camp by the stream for the night, the sound of the water a soothing backdrop. Emma gathered some sticks, while Jacob started a small fire. The warmth of the flames was comforting, a reminder of their small victories against the elements. As they sat by the fire, Emma felt the baby move again. She placed a hand on her belly, a small smile playing on her lips. She had survived another day, and she was grateful. Her child was safe, and that was all that mattered. Jacob offered her some food, and they ate in silence, the crackle of the fire filling the quiet. Emma felt a sense of peace, a brief respite from the fear and uncertainty. She was still on a journey, but she was not alone. The night deepened, the stars appearing one by one in the sky. Emma felt her eyelids grow heavy, the exhaustion of the day catching up with her. She lay down by the fire, the warmth lulling her into a light sleep. Her dreams were filled with images of the train, of the people she had seen. She saw her husband, his face smiling and full of life. Emma woke briefly, blinking away the remnants of the dream. She looked at Jacob, who was still awake, keeping watch. Emma felt a surge of gratitude. She was not alone. She had found a friend, someone to share the journey with. It was a small comfort, but it meant the world to her. She closed her eyes again, letting the sounds of the night soothe her. The journey was far from over, but Emma felt a renewed sense of hope. She had survived the attack, and she would keep surviving. She would find a new life for herself and her child. As she drifted back to sleep, she felt the promise of a new beginning, a future filled with possibilities. Emma woke up to the gentle light of morning. The air was cool and fresh. She lay still for a moment, listening to the sound of the stream nearby. The events of the past days weighed heavily on her, but she felt a small sense of peace here by the water. Jacob was already awake, tending to the fire. He nodded a greeting as Emma sat up, her muscles still sore from the journey. She was grateful for the chance to rest, to gather her strength before moving on. Today, she had to make a big decision. After breakfast, Emma and Jacob packed up their small camp. Emma knew she needed to leave the area to find a place where she and her child could be safe. The memory of the train attack was still fresh, a constant reminder of the danger that lurked nearby. Emma felt a mix of fear and determination. She had survived so far, but she knew the journey ahead would not be easy. She needed to find a town, a place where she could find shelter and help. But she had no idea which direction to go. Jacob seemed to understand her uncertainty. He studied the landscape, considering their options. Emma watched him, trusting his judgment. He pointed to the east, suggesting they head toward the rising sun. Emma nodded, a small surge of hope rising in her chest. They set off together, their steps steady and sure. Emma felt a sense of purpose, a determination to find safety. Her feet were still sore, her body aching, but she pushed the discomfort aside. She had to keep moving, for her child and for herself. As they walked, Emma's mind was filled with thoughts of the future. She imagined a small town, a place where she could find work and a place to live. She thought of the people she might meet, hoping they would be kind and willing to help. It was a simple dream, but it gave her strength. The sun climbed higher in the sky, the heat pressing down on them. Emma wiped sweat from her brow, her eyes scanning the horizon. The land was vast and empty, a reminder of the challenges they faced. But she refused to give in to despair. Jacob walked beside her, his presence a comfort. He was a man of few words, but Emma appreciated his company. She felt safer with him, knowing they could face any danger together. She was grateful for his help, for the friendship they had formed. The day wore on, the sun casting long shadows on the ground. Emma felt her strength waning, her steps growing slower. She knew she needed to rest, to gather her energy for the journey ahead. But she was reluctant to stop, afraid of losing precious time. Finally, Emma realized she had no choice. Her body was telling her to rest, and she had to listen. She stopped, finding a small patch of shade beneath a tree. She sat down, grateful for the chance to rest her tired legs. Jacob joined her, offering her some water. As she rested, Emma thought about her decision to leave the train wreck behind. It had been hard, leaving the sight of so much pain and loss. But she knew it was the right choice. She could not stay there, surrounded by the memories of what had happened. Emma felt the baby move, a gentle reminder of her purpose. She placed a hand on her belly, drawing strength from the life inside her. She had to be strong for her child and for herself. The journey was difficult, but she was determined to keep going. After their rest, they continued walking. Emma felt a renewed sense of determination, a belief that they would find safety. She focused on the horizon, each step taking her closer to her goal. She thought about the future, about the life she wanted to build. The afternoon passed slowly, the sun beginning to dip toward the horizon. Emma felt her strength waning again, but she refused to give up. She was so close, and she could not stop now. She had to keep pushing forward. As the sun began to set, they crested a small hill. Emma paused, her eyes scanning the landscape. There, in the distance, she saw something that made her heart leap. A small cluster of buildings, a town. Emma felt a surge of hope, a belief that they had found what they were looking for. She turned to Jacob, her eyes shining with relief. He nodded, a small smile on his face. They had done it. They had found a place where they could be safe. With renewed energy, Emma and Jacob made their way toward the town. The sight of it filled Emma with hope, a belief that they would find help and shelter. She imagined meeting the people there, finding a place to rest, a place to call home. As they approached the town, Emma felt a mix of excitement and fear. She knew the challenges were not over, but she was ready to face them. She had survived so much, and she was determined to keep going. The journey had been long and difficult, but Emma felt a sense of accomplishment. She had made it this far, and she would not give up. She had found a new beginning, a chance to start over. With Jacob by her side, she felt ready for whatever came next. The sun set behind them, casting the town in a warm glow. Emma felt a sense of peace, a belief that she had found a place where she could build a new life. She took a deep breath, stepping forward into the unknown, her heart filled with hope for the future. Emma and Jacob entered the town as the last light of day faded. The town was small, with a few dusty streets and wooden buildings. It was quiet, but there was a sense of life here. Emma felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps this was the place where she could start anew. They walked slowly down the main street, their eyes scanning for signs of life. Emma felt a mix of nerves and anticipation. She was tired, her body aching from the journey, but she was so close to finding help. She clutched her belly, feeling the reassuring movements of her baby. As they passed by a small general store, the door opened and a man stepped out. He was older, with a kind face and a curious expression. He watched them for a moment, then approached with cautious interest. Emma explained their situation, her voice steady despite her exhaustion. She spoke of the train attack and their journey to find safety. The man listened intently, his face softening with understanding. He introduced himself as Mr. Thompson, the store owner, and offered them some water and a place to rest. Grateful for his kindness, Emma and Jacob followed him into the store. Inside, the shelves were stocked with basic supplies and it smelled of wood and spices. Mr. Thompson led them to a small back room with chairs and a table. Emma sank into a chair, her body relaxing for the first time since they had left the wreckage. Mr. Thompson brought them some bread and cheese, and Emma ate gratefully. The simple meal was a comfort, a reminder that she had found a small refuge. Jacob thanked Mr. Thompson, his voice filled with genuine gratitude. As they ate, Emma noticed someone else in the room. A man lay on a cot in the corner, his face pale and lined with pain. He was injured, a bandage wrapped around his leg. Emma felt a pang of sympathy, recognizing him as a fellow survivor of the attack. She asked Mr. Thompson about the injured man, her voice gentle with concern. Mr. Thompson explained that he had found the man near the edge of town, wounded and in need of help. The man had been on the train, just like Emma, and had managed to escape with his life. Emma approached the man, introducing herself softly. His eyes opened slowly and he offered a weak smile. His name was Jake, he said, his voice hoarse and strained. Despite his condition, there was a spark of determination in his eyes. Emma felt an instant connection with Jake. They were both survivors, both searching for a way to move forward. She sat by his side, offering words of comfort and understanding. Jake seemed grateful for the company, his face softening as they talked. As the night deepened, Mr. Thompson offered Emma and Jacob a place to stay for the night. Grateful for his kindness, they accepted, knowing they needed the rest. Emma felt a sense of relief, a belief that they had found a safe harbor, at least for now. Emma lay down on a makeshift bed, her body sinking into the softness. She watched the shadows dance on the ceiling, her mind filled with thoughts of the future. She was in a town now, a place where she could find help and begin again. Her thoughts drifted to Jake, and she wondered about his story. He had survived, just like her, and she hoped they could help each other. There was strength in numbers, and she knew they would need all the strength they could muster. Emma closed her eyes, feeling the weight of exhaustion pull her under. She let herself drift into sleep, her dreams filled with images of a new life. She saw herself in a small house, her child playing in the yard, laughter filling the air. It was a comforting dream, a promise of what could be. The morning light crept into the room, waking Emma gently. She stretched, feeling the stiffness in her limbs. Jacob was already awake, sitting quietly by the window. He nodded a greeting, and Emma smiled in return. She was grateful for his presence, for the friendship they had formed. Emma rose and checked on Jake, who was still asleep. His breathing was steady, and his color looked better. Emma felt a sense of relief, hoping that he would recover quickly. She wanted to learn more about him, to hear his story. Mr. Thompson appeared with breakfast, and Emma thanked him warmly. She felt a deep gratitude for his kindness, for the way he had welcomed them into his home. She knew she had found an ally, someone who would help her find her footing in this new place. As they ate, Emma and Jacob discussed their plans. They needed to find work, a place to live, a way to support themselves. Emma felt a sense of urgency, driven by the need to provide for her child. She knew it would not be easy, but she was ready to face the challenges ahead. After breakfast, Emma took a walk through the town. She wanted to get a sense of the place, to see if it could become her home. The streets were quiet, but she saw signs of life, children playing, a woman hanging laundry, a man tending to his garden. Emma felt a glimmer of hope. This was a place where people lived and worked, where they built lives and raised families. It was not perfect, but it was a start. She could see herself here, building a new life for her and her child. As the day wore on, Emma returned to the store, feeling a sense of belonging. She was not alone anymore. She had found allies, people who understood and cared. It was a small victory, but it meant everything to her. Emma spoke with Mr. Thompson about finding work and he offered some suggestions. There were opportunities in town, he said, if she was willing to work hard. Emma nodded, determination in her eyes. She was ready to do whatever it took. As the sun set, Emma sat with Jake, talking quietly. She learned more about his past, his hopes for the future. They shared stories, finding comfort in their shared experiences. Emma felt a bond forming, a belief that they could help each other heal. The night deepened and Emma felt a sense of peace. She had found a place to rest, a place to begin again. The journey had been long and difficult, but she had survived. With Jacob and Jake by her side, she felt ready to face whatever came next. Emma lay down to sleep, her heart filled with hope. She had found a new beginning, a chance to build the life she had dreamed of. As she closed her eyes, she felt the promise of a brighter tomorrow, the belief that she would make it through. Days passed in a blur of activity for Emma. She worked alongside Mr. Thompson at the store, learning the ropes and getting to know the townspeople. She found comfort in the routine, a sense of purpose in the tasks she performed. Each day was a step forward, a chance to build the life she had envisioned for herself and her child. Jacob, too, found work in the town. He took on odd jobs, helping with repairs and lending a hand wherever needed. His skills were valued and he was quickly welcomed into the community. Emma was glad to see him settling in, finding his place. Jake was recovering well. With each passing day, he grew stronger, his injuries healing under the care of Mr. Thompson. Emma spent time with him, sharing stories and offering support. They had formed a bond, a friendship born out of shared hardship. Despite the sense of safety, the memory of the train attack lingered in Emma's mind. She knew the bandits were still out there, a threat that could not be ignored. She felt a constant undercurrent of fear, a reminder of the danger that lurked beyond the town's borders. One afternoon, as Emma was stacking shelves in the store, Jacob came in, his expression tense. He had heard rumors that the bandits were nearby, searching for any survivors who might have escaped the massacre. Emma felt a chill run down her spine, her heart pounding with anxiety. They gathered in the back room, discussing the situation in hushed voices. Emma felt a mix of fear and determination. She had to protect her child to ensure their future. She knew they needed a plan, a way to stay safe if the bandits came. Mr. Thompson suggested they stay vigilant, to be ready to defend themselves if necessary. He offered them a place to hide in the store, a small cellar that could serve as a refuge. Emma felt a surge of gratitude for his kindness, for the way he had taken them under his wing. As the sun set that evening, Emma felt a sense of unease. She knew they had to be careful, to stay alert. She spent extra time with Jake, making sure he was comfortable and safe. She felt a responsibility to protect him, just as she was protecting her child. That night, Emma found it hard to sleep. She lay awake, listening to the sounds of the town settling down for the night. The quiet was both comforting and unsettling, a reminder of the peace they had found and the danger that threatened to shatter it. Emma's mind was filled with thoughts of the future, of the life she was trying to build. She thought of her child, of the promise she had made to provide a safe and loving home. She was determined to keep that promise, no matter what it took. The next day dawned bright and clear, but the tension remained. Emma went about her work, her mind focused on the plan they had discussed. She felt a sense of purpose, a determination to keep moving forward. As she worked, Emma kept an eye on the street, watching for any sign of trouble. The townspeople were aware of the threat, and there was a sense of solidarity in their shared vigilance. Emma felt a connection to them, a belief that they would stand together if the time came. Jacob spent the day repairing a fence on the edge of town. He was good with his hands, and the work kept him busy. Emma admired his strength, his quiet determination. They had come through so much together, and she was grateful for his presence in her life. Jake was growing stronger each day. He could move about more freely now, and he often helped in the store, eager to contribute. Emma was glad to see him healing, to see the spark of hope returning to his eyes. As the day wore on, Emma felt a growing sense of anticipation. She knew they were prepared, that they had done everything they could to ensure their safety. But the uncertainty lingered, a shadow that refused to lift. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Emma sat with Jacob and Jake outside the store. They talked quietly, their voices mingling with the sounds of the town preparing for night. Emma felt a sense of peace, a belief that they would face whatever came their way together. As they watched the stars appear in the sky, Emma felt a renewed sense of hope. She had found a place where she belonged, a community that had welcomed her with open arms. She was not alone, and that knowledge gave her strength. The threat of the bandits was real, But Emma refused to let it consume her. She was determined to live her life, to provide for her child, and to build a future filled with love and laughter. She had come through so much, and she was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. With a deep breath, Emma stood, feeling a sense of resolve. She looked at Jacob and Jake, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of the stars. They had become her family, a part of the life she was building. Emma knew the journey was far from over, but she felt ready to face it. She had found strength in herself she never knew she had, a resilience born out of necessity. She was a survivor, and she would do whatever it took to protect those she loved. As the night deepened, Emma felt a sense of peace. She had found a new beginning, a chance to create the life she had dreamed of. With her friends by her side, she knew they would overcome any obstacle together. The future was uncertain, but Emma was filled with hope. She had found her place, her purpose, and she was determined to embrace it with all her heart. As she gazed at the stars, she felt the promise of a brighter tomorrow, a belief that they would triumph in the end. Emma's days in the town became routine, filled with work and small moments of joy. She spent her mornings at the store, helping Mr. Thompson and greeting the townspeople. The afternoons were often spent with Jacob and Jake, sharing stories and laughter. It was a simple life, but it was enough for now. However, the threat of the bandits lingered in the back of her mind. Emma knew they were still out there searching for survivors. She tried not to let the fear control her, but it was always there, a shadow in her thoughts. One afternoon, as Emma was sorting supplies in the store, she noticed Jacob standing by the window. His face was tense, his eyes fixed on something outside. Emma felt a pang of worry and went to join him. Outside, a group of men had gathered in the street. They were rough-looking, their faces unfamiliar. Emma's heart skipped a beat, fear tightening her chest. She knew instinctively that these were the bandits, the men who had attacked the train. Jacob turned to her, his expression serious. They had to act quickly to stay safe. Emma nodded, her mind racing. She felt a surge of determination, a need to protect her child and her friends. They moved quickly, alerting Mr. Thompson and Jake. The store had a hidden cellar, a small space that could serve as a refuge. Emma and the others hurried to prepare, gathering supplies and making sure the entrance was secure. The bandits moved through the town, their voices loud and demanding. Emma listened from the cellar, her heart pounding in her chest. She could hear the fear in the voices of the townspeople, the tension in the air. Emma crouched in the dark, her hand on her belly. The baby moved, a reminder of what she was fighting for. She drew strength from that small life, from the promise of a future she was determined to build. The minutes stretched into hours, each one filled with uncertainty. Emma stayed close to Jacob and Jake, their presence a comfort in the darkness. She felt a bond with them, a belief that they would face whatever came their way together. Eventually, the noise outside began to fade. Emma felt a flicker of hope, a belief that the bandits had moved on. She listened intently, her breath held, waiting for any sign that it was safe to emerge. After what felt like an eternity, Mr. Thompson signaled that it was clear. Emma felt a rush of relief, her body relaxing for the first time in hours. They had made it through, had survived the threat once again. As they emerged from the cellar, Emma felt a wave of gratitude. The town had come together, had stood strong against the danger. She felt a connection to these people, a belief that they would protect each other. The bandits had left, but the damage was done. Emma saw the fear in the faces of the townspeople, the uncertainty in their eyes. She knew they had to be vigilant, to be ready for whatever came next. Emma spent the rest of the day helping to clean up, to repair the damage left by the bandits. It was hard work, but it felt good to be doing something, to be part of the community. As she worked, she thought about the future, about the life she was determined to create. She spoke with Jacob and Jake, discussing their plans. They needed to be prepared, to have a plan in place if the bandits returned. Emma felt a sense of resolve, a determination to protect her child and her friends. The days passed, each one filled with work and small victories. Emma found strength in the routine, in the knowledge that she was not alone. She had found a place where she belonged, a community that had welcomed her with open arms. But the threat of the bandits was never far from her mind. Emma knew they would not give up easily, that they would return. She felt a constant undercurrent of fear, a reminder of the danger that lurked beyond the town's borders. Emma focused on her work, on building a future for her child. She drew strength from the people around her, from the friendships she had formed. She was determined to survive, to protect those she loved. As she lay in bed each night, Emma thought about the journey she had been on. She had come through so much, had faced danger and uncertainty, but she had found strength in herself, a resilience she never knew she had. Emma felt a sense of peace, a belief that she would make it through. She had found a new beginning, a chance to create the life she had dreamed of. With Jacob and Jake by her side, she knew they would overcome any obstacle together. The journey was far from over, but Emma felt ready to face it. She had found her place, her purpose, and she was determined to embrace it with all her heart. As she closed her eyes each night, she felt the promise of a brighter tomorrow, a belief that they would triumph in the end. The morning sun peeked through the window as Emma stirred awake. She blinked, adjusting to the light. She felt the familiar weight of her growing belly and the gentle movements of the baby inside. It was a new day, and with it came new challenges and hopes. Emma stretched, feeling the stiffness in her muscles. She had spent the previous day helping to repair the damage left by the bandits. It was hard work, but it felt good to contribute, to be part of something bigger than herself. As she dressed, Emma thought about the plan she and Jacob had discussed. They needed a place to rest, a temporary refuge where they could gather their strength. The idea of a cave, a place away from the town, seemed perfect. It would give them a chance to regroup, to plan their next steps. Emma found Jacob outside, preparing supplies for their journey. His face was calm, his movements steady and efficient. Emma admired his strength, his quiet determination. They had come through so much together, and she was grateful for his presence in her life. Jake joined them, his leg healing well. He still moved with a slight limp, but his spirits were high. He was eager to contribute, to be part of the team. Emma felt a bond with him, a friendship born out of shared hardship. They set off together, leaving the town behind. Emma felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. She was eager to see the cave, to have a place where they could rest and plan. But she was also aware of the danger that still lingered, the threat of the bandits ever present in her mind. The path to the cave was rugged, the terrain uneven. Emma moved carefully, mindful of her condition. She felt the support of her friends, their presence a comfort as they made their way through the landscape. As they walked, Emma thought about the future. She dreamed of a small home, a place where she could raise her child in safety and love. It was a simple dream, but it was enough to keep her going. She was determined to make it a reality. The journey was tiring, but Emma felt a sense of purpose. Each step brought them closer to the cave, closer to the refuge they sought. She focused on the path ahead, drawing strength from the life growing inside her. After a few hours, they reached the cave. It was nestled in the side of a hill, hidden from view. Emma felt a surge of relief as she stepped inside, the cool air a welcome change from the heat outside. It was not large, but it was enough for their needs. They set up a small camp, arranging their supplies and gathering firewood. Emma felt a sense of accomplishment, a belief that they had found a safe haven. She watched Jacob and Jake work, their movements confident and efficient. As the sun began to set, they gathered around the small fire, the warmth a comfort in the cool evening air. Emma felt a sense of peace, a belief that they were on the right path. They had found a place to rest, a place to plan their next steps. Emma spoke with Jacob and Jake about their plans. They needed to be vigilant, to be ready for whatever came their way. The threat of the bandits was real, but they were determined to protect what they had built. As they talked, Emma felt a renewed sense of hope. She had found a place where she belonged, a community that had welcomed her with open arms. She was not alone, and that knowledge gave her strength. The night deepened, the stars appearing one by one in the sky. Emma felt her eyelids grow heavy, the exhaustion of the day catching up with her. She lay down by the fire, the warmth lulling her into a light sleep. Her dreams were filled with images of the future, of the life she was determined to create. She saw her child, happy and healthy, surrounded by love and laughter. It was a comforting dream, a promise of what could be. Emma woke to the soft light of dawn, the air crisp and fresh. She stretched, feeling the stiffness in her limbs. Jacob and Jake were already awake, their faces calm and focused. Emma felt a sense of peace, a belief that they would face whatever came their way together. They spent the day gathering supplies, preparing for the days ahead. Emma felt a sense of purpose, a determination to provide for her child. She was ready to face the challenges, to build the life she had dreamed of. As the sun set, Emma sat by the fire, her mind filled with thoughts of the future. She was grateful for the support of her friends, for the bond they had formed. Together, they had faced danger and uncertainty, and she knew they would continue to do so. Emma felt a sense of peace, a belief that they would make it through. She had found a new beginning, a chance to create the life she had dreamed of. With Jacob and Jake by her side, she knew they would overcome any obstacle together. The journey was far from over, but Emma felt ready to face it. She had found her place, her purpose, and she was determined to embrace it with all her heart. As she gazed at the stars, she felt the promise of a brighter tomorrow, a belief that they would triumph in the end. The days in the cave passed with a quiet rhythm. Emma, Jacob, and Jake settled into a routine, each day bringing them closer together. Emma felt at peace in their little refuge, a safe space away from the threats of the world outside. But the threat of the bandits was never far from their minds. They knew the bandits were still out there, searching for any survivors. Emma felt the weight of that knowledge, a constant reminder of the danger they faced. They had to be ready for whatever came next. One afternoon, as Emma was gathering firewood near the cave, she heard voices in the distance. Her heart skipped a beat, fear tightening her chest. She knew the bandits could be nearby, and she had to act quickly. Emma hurried back to the cave, her mind racing. She found Jacob and Jake, their faces tense as she explained what she had heard. They knew they had to be careful, to stay hidden until the danger passed. The three of them moved quickly, gathering their supplies and making sure the cave was secure. Emma felt a surge of determination, a need to protect her child and her friends. They had come too far to give up now. The voices grew closer, echoing through the hills. Emma crouched in the cave, her heart pounding in her chest. She could hear the bandits talking, their words harsh and demanding. She felt a mix of fear and anger, a desire to keep them from what they had built. Emma knew they had to mislead the bandits, to use the terrain to their advantage. She whispered a plan to Jacob and Jake, her mind focused on keeping them safe. They needed to create a distraction, to draw the bandits away from the cave. Carefully, they set the plan in motion. Jacob slipped out of the cave, moving quietly through the underbrush. He made his way to a nearby ridge, a place where he could make noise and draw the bandits' attention. Emma watched from the cave, her heart in her throat. She trusted Jacob, but the fear was still there, a constant presence in her mind. She held her breath, waiting for the signal that it was safe. Jacob reached the ridge, and Emma heard the sound of rocks tumbling down the hillside. It was a small noise, but enough to catch the bandits' attention. Emma felt a rush of relief as she heard their voices fade, moving away from the cave. They had done it. The bandits were gone, at least for now. Emma felt a wave of gratitude, her body relaxing for the first time in hours. She knew they were not safe yet, but they had bought themselves some time. Jacob returned to the cave, his face calm and steady. Emma felt a surge of admiration for him, for his courage and quick thinking. They had faced the danger together, and they had come through. As the sun began to set, Emma felt a sense of peace. They had survived another day, had protected what they had built. She watched the stars appear in the sky, feeling a renewed sense of hope. Emma spoke with Jacob and Jake about their plans. They needed to stay vigilant, to be ready for whatever came next. The bandits would not give up easily, and they had to be prepared. The night deepened, and Emma felt her eyelids grow heavy. She lay down by the fire, the warmth a comfort in the cool evening air. Her mind was filled with thoughts of the future, of the life she was determined to create. As she drifted into sleep, Emma felt a sense of peace. She had found a new beginning, a chance to build the life she had dreamed of. With Jacob and Jake by her side, she knew they would overcome any obstacle together. The journey was far from over, but Emma felt ready to face it. She had found her place, her purpose, and she was determined to embrace it with all her heart. As she slept, she dreamed of a brighter tomorrow, a belief that they would triumph in the end. Emma woke to the soft glow of dawn filtering into the cave. Her body was sore from the previous day's tension, but she felt a sense of relief. They had managed to divert the bandits, at least for now. It was a small victory, but a crucial one. She sat up slowly, her hand instinctively going to her belly. The baby moved, a comforting reminder of her purpose. Emma was determined to keep her child safe, no matter what challenges lay ahead. Jacob and Jake were already awake, their faces calm but alert. They had spent the night in shifts, keeping watch to ensure the bandits did not return. Emma felt grateful for their vigilance, their unwavering support in this uncertain time. As they prepared a simple breakfast, Emma thought about their next steps. They needed to be cautious to avoid drawing attention to themselves. The cave was a good place to hide, but they could not stay there forever. Emma knew they needed to find a more permanent solution, a safe place to call home. After breakfast, they gathered their supplies and discussed their options. Emma felt a sense of urgency, driven by the need to secure a future for her child. She knew they had to move carefully to avoid being discovered by the bandits. Jacob suggested they explore the area further, to see if there was another place they could settle. Emma agreed, feeling a flicker of hope. If they could find a safe haven, they could begin to build the life they had dreamed of. The three of them set out, leaving the cave behind. Emma felt a mix of excitement and trepidation as they moved through the rugged terrain. Each step took them further from the safety of the cave, but closer to the possibility of a new beginning. As they walked, Emma's mind was filled with thoughts of the future. She imagined a small home, a place where she could raise her child in peace and love. It was a simple dream, but one that kept her going, even in the face of danger. The sun climbed higher in the sky, and Emma felt the heat on her back. She wiped sweat from her brow, her eyes scanning the landscape for any sign of a suitable place to settle. The land was vast and empty, but she refused to give in to despair. After several hours of walking, they stumbled upon a small valley. It was sheltered by hills, a hidden oasis in the midst of the barren landscape. Emma felt a surge of hope as she looked around, taking in the possibilities. The valley had a small stream running through it, the water sparkling in the sunlight. There were trees and bushes, a patch of green in the otherwise dry landscape. Emma felt a sense of peace, a belief that they had found what they were looking for. Jacob and Jake explored the area, their faces filled with cautious optimism. Emma watched them, feeling a sense of connection to this place. It felt right, like a place where they could build a future. They spent the afternoon in the valley, assessing its potential. Emma felt a sense of excitement building within her, a belief that they had found a new beginning. The valley offered everything they needed: water, shelter, and a sense of safety. As the sun began to set, they made their way back to the cave. Emma felt a renewed sense of purpose, a determination to make the valley their home. She knew there were challenges ahead, but she was ready to face them. The journey back to the cave was filled with quiet conversation, plans forming in their minds. Emma felt a sense of camaraderie with Jacob and Jake, a belief that they would face whatever came their way together. That night, as they sat by the fire, Emma felt a sense of peace. They had found a place where they could build the life they had dreamed of. With Jacob and Jake by her side, she felt ready to embrace the future. Emma lay down to sleep, her heart filled with hope. She had found a new beginning, a chance to create the life she had dreamed of. As she closed her eyes, she felt the promise of a brighter tomorrow, a belief that they would triumph in the end. The journey was far from over, but Emma felt ready to face it. She had found her place, her purpose, and she was determined to embrace it with all her heart. With the support of her friends and the promise of the valley, she knew they would overcome any obstacle together. The next morning, the sun rose over the hills, casting a warm glow over the landscape. Emma awoke with a sense of purpose. Today, they would begin the process of making the valley their home. The thought filled her with hope and determination. Emma, Jacob, and Jake set to work, gathering supplies and planning their move. They knew it would take time and effort, but the promise of a safe haven drove them forward. Emma felt a sense of excitement, a belief that they were on the right path. As they prepared, Emma thought about the life she wanted to create for her child. She imagined a place filled with love and laughter, a home where they could be safe and happy. It was a simple dream, but one that fueled her determination. With their supplies packed, they set off for the valley. Emma felt a mix of excitement and trepidation as they left the cave behind. The journey was challenging, but she drew strength from the life growing inside her. The sun climbed higher in the sky as they made their way to the valley. Emma felt the heat on her back, but she pushed forward, driven by the promise of a new beginning. Each step brought them closer to their goal. When they reached the valley, Emma felt a surge of relief. The sight of the green landscape, the sound of the stream, filled her with peace. They had found a place where they could build the life they had dreamed of. They spent the day exploring the valley, assessing its potential. Emma felt a sense of optimism, a belief that they could make this place their home. It was not perfect, but it offered everything they needed. Jacob and Jake worked together, setting up a temporary shelter. Emma watched them with gratitude, their teamwork a testament to the bond they had formed. She felt a sense of belonging, a belief that they were building something special. As the sun began to set, they gathered around a small fire. Emma felt a sense of accomplishment, a belief that they were on the right path. The valley was a place of promise, a place where they could begin again. Emma spoke with Jacob and Jake about their plans. They needed to be cautious to avoid drawing attention to themselves. The threat of the bandits was still real, but they were determined to protect what they had built. The night deepened, and Emma felt a sense of peace. They had found a place where they could build the life they had dreamed of. With Jacob and Jake by her side, she felt ready to embrace the future. As she lay down to sleep, Emma felt the baby move, a comforting reminder of her purpose. She had found a new beginning, a chance to create the life she had dreamed of. With the promise of the valley, she knew they would overcome any obstacle together. The journey was far from over, but Emma felt ready to face it. She had found her place, her purpose, and she was determined to embrace it with all her heart. As she closed her eyes, she felt the promise of a brighter tomorrow, a belief that they would triumph in the end. The next morning, Emma awoke to the sound of birds singing. The air was crisp and fresh, the valley alive with promise. She felt a sense of peace, a belief that they had found a place where they could build a future. Emma spent the day working alongside Jacob and Jake, setting up their new home. It was hard work, but it felt good to be building something of their own. Each task was a step toward the life they wanted to create. As they worked, Emma thought about the future. She imagined a home filled with love and laughter, a place where her child could grow up safe and happy. It was a simple dream, but one that kept her going. The sun set over the valley, casting a warm glow over their new home. Emma felt a sense of accomplishment, a belief that they were on the right path. With Jacob and Jake by her side, she knew they would face whatever challenges lay ahead. As the stars appeared in the sky, Emma felt a sense of peace. She had found a new beginning, a chance to create the life she had dreamed of. With the promise of the valley, she knew they would overcome any obstacle together. The journey was far from over, but Emma felt ready to face it. She had found her place, her purpose, and she was determined to embrace it with all her heart. As she lay down to sleep, she felt the promise of a brighter tomorrow, a belief that they would triumph in the end. In the days that followed, the valley began to feel like home. Emma, Jacob, and Jake worked together to make the place more comfortable. They built a small shelter and cleared an area for a garden. It was hard work, but it was rewarding. Emma felt a sense of pride in what they were creating. Life in the valley was peaceful. The stream provided fresh water, and the land was fertile enough to plant a few crops. Emma felt a deep connection to the place, a belief that they had found a true refuge. She felt the tension of the past weeks slowly begin to ease. One afternoon, as Emma rested by the stream, she felt a sharp pain in her belly. Her breath caught, and she knew the time had come. The baby was ready to enter the world. Emma felt a mix of emotions: fear, excitement, and determination. Emma called for Jacob and Jake, her voice steady despite the pain. They came quickly, their faces filled with concern. Emma explained what was happening, her mind focused on the task ahead. She knew she had to stay calm, to trust in her body and her friends. Jacob and Jake helped Emma to the shelter, their movements careful and gentle. Emma felt grateful for their support, their presence a comfort in this moment of uncertainty. She lay down, taking deep breaths to calm herself. Jacob fetched water from the stream, while Jake gathered clean cloths. They worked together, their focus on helping Emma through the labor. Emma felt a surge of gratitude for their friendship, their unwavering support in this moment of need. As the contractions continued, Emma focused on her breathing. She drew strength from the life growing inside her, from the promise of a new beginning. She knew she was ready to face this challenge, to bring her child into the world. The hours passed slowly, each one filled with pain and anticipation. Emma felt the intensity of the contractions, but she refused to give in to fear. She was determined to see this through, to welcome her child with love and strength. As night fell, the valley was filled with a quiet stillness. The stars shone brightly in the sky, a reminder of the vastness of the world. Emma felt a connection to the universe, a belief that she was part of something greater. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the moment arrived. Emma felt a final surge of pain, and then the air was filled with the cry of a newborn. Emma's heart soared with joy, tears of relief and happiness streaming down her face. Jacob and Jake were there, their faces filled with awe and wonder. They helped Emma hold her baby, their movements gentle and reverent. Emma felt a deep sense of peace as she cradled her child, the warmth of the small body against her own. The baby was healthy, a tiny miracle in her arms. Emma felt a rush of love, a bond stronger than anything she had ever known. She looked into her baby's eyes, feeling the enormity of the moment. She had done it. She had brought new life into the world. Jacob and Jake watched with smiles, their eyes filled with happiness. They had been part of this journey, had shared in the struggles and triumphs. Emma felt grateful for their presence, for the family they had become. As the night wore on, Emma rested, her baby nestled by her side. She felt a deep sense of contentment, a belief that they had found a new beginning. The valley was their home, a place where they could build a future filled with love and hope. Emma thought about the journey that had brought her here. She had faced danger and uncertainty, had overcome challenges she never thought possible. But she had found strength in herself, a resilience she never knew she had. With Jacob and Jake by her side, Emma felt ready to face whatever came next. She had found her place, her purpose, and she was determined to embrace it with all her heart. As she drifted into sleep, she felt the promise of a brighter tomorrow, a belief that they would triumph in the end. The days after the baby's arrival were filled with a new kind of rhythm. Emma found herself adjusting to the demands of motherhood. She was tired but happy, her heart full of love for her child. Every cry, every small movement was a reminder of the miracle she had brought into the world. Jacob and Jake continued to be a constant support. They helped with the daily tasks, ensuring Emma had time to rest and bond with her baby. Their presence was a comfort, and Emma was grateful for the family they had become. But the tranquility of the valley was soon interrupted. One afternoon, as Emma sat with her baby by the stream, Jacob returned from checking the perimeter with a worried expression. He had seen signs that the bandits were nearby, tracks and disturbances that suggested they were in the area again. Emma felt a surge of fear, her mind racing with the implications. The bandits were relentless, still searching for survivors. The valley, once a place of refuge, now felt vulnerable. Emma knew they had to act quickly to protect what they had built. They gathered in the shelter, discussing their options in hushed tones. Emma felt a mix of fear and determination. She knew they had to defend their home, to ensure the safety of her child and her friends. They could not allow the bandits to destroy what they had worked so hard to create. Jacob suggested they prepare for a confrontation, to set up defenses around the valley. Emma agreed, her mind focused on the task ahead. They needed to be ready to stand strong against the threat. The next day was spent fortifying their position. They worked tirelessly, setting up barriers and hiding places. Emma felt a sense of urgency, driven by the need to protect her child. She refused to let fear control her, focusing instead on the strength of their community. As they worked, Emma thought about the life she wanted for her child. She imagined a future filled with peace and happiness, a place where they could thrive. It was a simple dream, but one worth fighting for. The sun set over the valley, casting long shadows over their preparations. Emma felt a sense of readiness, a belief that they were prepared for whatever came their way. They gathered around the fire, their faces illuminated by the flickering light. Emma, Jacob, and Jake spoke quietly, their voices filled with resolve. They knew the danger was real, but they were determined to protect their home. Emma felt a sense of solidarity, a belief that they would face the challenge together. The night was filled with tension, each sound amplified by the darkness. Emma stayed close to her baby, her heart filled with love and determination. She knew she had to be strong, to protect what she had created. As the first light of dawn broke over the valley, the bandits came. Their voices were harsh and demanding, echoing through the hills. Emma felt a surge of fear, but she pushed it aside. She was ready to defend her home, to fight for her child's future. Jacob and Jake took their positions, their faces calm and focused. Emma watched them, drawing strength from their courage. They were a team, a family, and they would face the threat together. The bandits approached, their movements cautious but determined. Emma felt her heart race, her mind focused on the plan they had devised. She knew they had to be smart, to use the terrain to their advantage. As the bandits moved closer, Emma felt a surge of adrenaline. She was ready, her mind clear and focused. The valley was their home, and she would do whatever it took to protect it. The confrontation was intense, a blur of movement and noise. Emma stayed hidden, her eyes on the bandits as they moved through the valley. She felt a mix of fear and determination, a belief that they would prevail. Jacob and Jake were relentless, their movements swift and efficient. Emma felt a surge of pride as she watched them, their strength a testament to their resolve. They were fighting for their home, for their future, and they would not back down. The bandits, caught off guard by the resistance, began to retreat. Emma felt a rush of relief, her body relaxing as the danger passed. They had done it. They had protected their home, had stood strong against the threat. As the bandits disappeared into the distance, Emma felt a wave of gratitude. They had faced the danger together, had protected what they had built. She looked at Jacob and Jake, their faces filled with relief and triumph. Emma held her baby close, her heart filled with love and hope. They had overcome the challenge, had defended their home. The valley was their refuge, a place where they could build a future filled with promise. As the sun set over the valley, Emma felt a sense of peace. They had found a new beginning, a chance to create the life they had dreamed of. With Jacob and Jake by her side, she knew they would face whatever challenges lay ahead. The journey was far from over, but Emma felt ready to face it. She had found her place, her purpose, and she was determined to embrace it with all her heart. As she lay down to sleep, she felt the promise of a brighter tomorrow, a belief that they would triumph in the end. With the bandits gone, a calm settled over the valley. The air felt lighter, the sky brighter. Emma, Jacob, and Jake worked to restore the normalcy of their lives. The tension of the confrontation lingered, but the victory brought a renewed sense of hope. Emma focused on her baby, the small life that had changed everything. Each day was filled with new discoveries, new joys. The baby's laughter was a constant reminder of the love that filled their home. Emma felt a deep sense of fulfillment, a belief that they were on the right path. Jacob and Jake continued to be a constant support. They worked tirelessly to improve their home, to make the valley a place of safety and comfort. Emma felt grateful for their friendship, for the family they had become. As the days turned into weeks, the valley flourished. The garden they had planted began to grow, the small shoots a testament to their efforts. Emma felt a deep connection to the land, a belief that they had found a place where they could thrive. The threat of the bandits seemed distant now, a shadow that had passed. Emma knew they could never be complacent, but she felt a sense of peace. They had faced the danger together, had protected what they had built. With the immediate threat gone, Emma turned her thoughts to the future. She imagined a life filled with love and laughter, a place where her child could grow up safe and happy. It was a simple dream, but one that filled her heart with joy. Emma spoke with Jacob and Jake about their plans. They needed to continue building, to make the valley a place of permanence. The land was rich with potential, and they were determined to make the most of it. As they worked, Emma felt a sense of purpose. Each task brought them closer to their goal, each day a step forward. She felt a deep sense of satisfaction in their progress, a belief that they were creating something lasting. The valley was alive with the promise of new beginnings. The stream flowed with clear, fresh water. The trees provided shade and shelter. Emma felt a deep connection to the place, a belief that it was their true home. As the seasons changed, the valley transformed. The garden flourished, providing food and sustenance. Emma felt a sense of pride in their accomplishments, a belief that they had created something special. The valley became a sanctuary, a place of peace and safety. Emma felt a sense of belonging, a belief that they had found their place in the world. She watched her child grow, each day filled with new milestones and joys. Emma knew the journey was far from over. There would be challenges ahead, obstacles to overcome. But she felt ready to face them, to embrace the future with open arms. She had found her place, her purpose, and she was determined to make the most of it. With Jacob and Jake by her side, Emma felt a sense of strength and resilience. They had faced danger and uncertainty, had overcome challenges they never thought possible. But they had found strength in each other, a bond that could not be broken. As the sun set over the valley, Emma felt a deep sense of peace. They had created a home, a place filled with love and hope. The journey had been long and difficult, but it had led them to where they were meant to be. Emma lay down to sleep, her heart filled with contentment. She had found a new beginning, a chance to create the life she had dreamed of. With the promise of the valley and the love of her family, she knew they would face whatever came their way. The future was bright, filled with promise and possibility. Emma felt a sense of excitement, a belief that they would triumph in the end. As she drifted into sleep, she felt the promise of a brighter tomorrow, a belief that they had found their place in the world. If you loved this story, like the video and subscribe.